Guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Hi. Before I get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to one of my subscribers who is a very dear friend of mine. I was supposed to give her a shout out in my last video, which was my review on the June mini-series of movie, but I forgot to do it, so I'm doing it in this video. So her name and her channel is called Kimberly C. Riviera. I will put a link to her channel down in the in the description box down below. She's a fellow booktuber. She hasn't been on booktube for very long, maybe about 2 or 3 weeks. And she is an author, as I said, or I may not have said it, but you know already. And she talks about her writing style, as well as some novels that she likes to read, as well as some tropes in stories that she likes and dislikes as well. She doesn't have many videos right now. She only has about 5 or 6 of them, but I deeply enjoy them. I support her 110%, and I always give her feedback and comments as well. And so please go and check out her channel, subscribe to her, watch all of her videos back to back, give her loads of feedback and comments, loads of thumbs up, because we we small subscribers need to support each other, you know what I mean? So with that out of the way, let me just talk about the novel that I'll be reviewing today. And if I can open my Kindle, come on. And that being the Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. This is fantastic, it really is. I've never written, or actually read anything rather by Clive Barker. I know who he is. I know he's famous for doing horror novels as well as some fantasy novels, because I did some research. Sorry about the lack of the cover as well. It's kind of a gamble on Amazon whether you will get the cover that's advertised or whether you will get a completely different cover. But for me, it doesn't matter. I don't really buy books on the covers, but it does help. But it's not really important. I buy books because of the words that they contain. This isn't a novel as well. This is a novella. This is about 100 pages long, even though it's advertised on Amazon to be 57 pages long. But most of the pages are repeated numerous times. Like the page numbers are repeated numerous times. So I consider this to be 100 pages long. So extremely short. Also, if you are trying to get into horror, or if you're not sure whether you will like horror or not, but you want to get into it, or whether you want to know whether you will like it or not, I would start with the Hellbound Heart. This is a fantastic novel or story. I'll actually call it a novel throughout this video, but I know it's a novella. But this is a fantastic story. I would definitely start off with this one. So the Hellbound Heart was actually published in November of 1986, and as I said, it was published by Clive Barker, who is a British author, and he was born on the 5th of October 1952, and the Hellbound Heart had a movie based on it as well, called Hellraiser. Everyone knows what this is. The movie and the story are actually pretty much the same or identical. Everything in the story in the novella happens in the movie. The only difference between the two is that the main father character is called Rory in the in the story, but in the movie is called Larry. And the character of Kirsty, who I believe is a kind of a neighbor, a friendly neighbor figure or a friend in the story, is the stepdaughter for the Larry character in the movie. That's the main differences I can see between the two. And the movie was released in London on the 10th of September 1986, so not even a year after the story was actually published. So before I get into my review on the story, if I can talk today, sorry I have a stutter. This is going to be a spoiler-free video. I'm not going to spoil anything about the main storyline if you want to get into this story, as well as this is going to be my own thoughts and opinions regarding this story. So please remember that going forward, guys. Okay. So we're just having some coffee, guys. So, the story of Hellbound Heart opens up with a show introducing us to a character called Frank, who's sitting alone in a room in a house with this mysterious puzzle box that he's trying to solve. And he's been told that if he solves the mysteries of this box, it will grant him ultimate pleasure. And this isn't really specified about what this actually is regarding to. Frank interprets it as him having all these attractive women around him to give him sexual pleasure, or that's stuff in that regard. Because Frank is not really a womanizer. He's a he actually likes the company of women and the pleasure of women, I suppose. He is a really unlikable character, even though none of these characters is already fleshed out a lot. When he opens, or when he solves the puzzle box, or when he solves the box, all these strange demons come out. These 4 demons come out, or appear in front of him, and they are called Cenobites. I'm not sure what a Cenobite actually is. They might be demons, whether they are from hell, I'm not sure, or whether they are from a dimension that's similar to hell. But when they come and actually visit him, they actually don't know why they've been called, or why he's wants, or what he wants from them. And this is actually what they say when they are in front of him. This is what the character of Pinhead, even though Pinhead is technically not mentioned by name in this story, but the character's description is mentioned, in this little bit that I'm going to read to you now. Do you understand? The figure beside the first speaker demanded. His voice, unlike that of its companion, was light and breathy. The voice of an excited girl. Every inch of its head had been tattooed in an intricate grid at every intersection of horizontal and vertical axis of jeweled pin. A jeweled pin driven through to the bone. Its tongue was similarly decorated, and it said, "Do you even know who we are?" It actually asked. So they aren't really. So they're very inquisitive when they come face to face with Frank. They don't know why he's called them, or what he actually wants. And he tells them that he wants pleasure, and this is what they actually say in that regard as well. Now again, we ask you, what do you want? Why? Why should he not answer them straight? Pleasure, he replied. Krishna said, "You know about pleasures." Krishna, I'm pretty sure I probably said his name wrong, but that character gave Frank the puzzle box in the first place. "Oh, we do," said the first of them. "Everything you ever wanted." And when after that they basically tear him apart. They kind of like torture him, and I think that pleasure element is when people solve this box. The pleasure that they receive isn't their own. It's the pleasure of the Cenobites, that when they come, they can fulfill their own pleasures, whatever that actually regards to actually being. And when Frank is being tortured and taken debatably to another dimension, this is actually what actually describes his thoughts, because he's actually begging them to stop. And this is what it says. The pleas became a single sound, words and sense eclipsed by panic. It seemed there was no end to this, but madness. No hope, but to be lost to hope. And that's basically what actually happens to Frank, at the start of the story. And this has some horrific imagery. some of the horrible descriptions about these Cenobites, as well as what the what appears around them whenever they are around your presence. I mean, when we first see the character of Pinhead, as I said, it's presumed that, or described that, the character is a female, and this is what happens when we first see that character. She sat on a pile of rotting human heads and smiled and welcome. And that tells me that the character is very charismatic. She is very articulate, and she takes enormous satisfaction on people's pain and suffering, and that's her. And I mean, that's the character's pleasure. That's the Cenobite's pleasure. And I just want to read like the last bit as well, which describes about what the box actually is, because I mean, you may be wondering what this puzzle box actually is, and this is what the Cenobites actually regard this box as actually being, and this is what they actually say. The box is a means to break the surface of the real. So so after Frank is being tortured and taken debatably to another dimension, whether it's hell or not, we are introduced to our main characters. Our father figure called Rory, who is married to a wife called, to a lady called Julia, and they move into the same house which Frank was doing all these experiments with the box with, to their lack of knowledge. And Rory is a loving husband. He's a very good guy. His marriage is kind of broken, but he's trying to hold on to the remnants of it as best as he can. He is extremely devoted, and he loves and worships Julia, but Julia doesn't really like Rory. She thinks of him as a weak man, or as a weak person, who doesn't deserve her. And we found out that Julia might have had a relationship with Frank, whether it's a romantic one or sexual. But knowing the character of Frank in this story, I'm pretty sure it's a sexual relationship that they actually had behind Rory's back. And so I mean, that's the main characters. And as the story progresses, Julia discovers that Frank has been brought back to life after Rory has cut his hand and bled on the floor. Not a lot, only a little bit, onto the floor, where in the same room where Frank disappeared and actually met the Cenobites. And this has actually brought Frank back to life. But he isn't completely human yet. Even though he does look human, he is very disfigured and bloody and gory and very scary. And when Julia discovers Frank in this form, she's extremely frightened at first, but when she finds out that it is Frank, he actually tells her that the blood brought him back. And he says that if I can get more blood, or if she can give him more people and more blood, then his body will slowly regenerate, and he will slowly become normal looking again, and fully human. She is she's very reluctant at first, but she slowly comes around to it, and she without Rory's knowledge as well. I'm not sure if Rory has a job in this, but he's kind of out of the way, and away from the house for the most part as well. So Julia goes out, and she picks up all these men to bring back to Frank. I'm pretty sure she brings back 3 people, 3 men, and she seduces them and brings her back to the house, and takes them into the room where Frank actually is. And Frank drains their energy. I'm not sure what actually happens, but it's more than killing these men. He sucks the living essence and the liquid out of them, and feeds on their blood. I'm not sure if it's kind of like a vampire, but is probably worse than a vampire, judging by the book. Um, excuse me. It is horrific about what actually happens. But some of the characters. I mean, one of the men that Julia brings back tells her about his wife and his kids, and I'm pretty sure his job as well. But these men aren't really discussed or like into detail. We don't really know much about them. I mean, we really don't really need to know much about them. These are just characters that have been taken to Frank and been killed. But it would be nice to have that bit of extra detail about them, and their backstory as well. And what they're actually feeling as well. So so in that as I said, there's a character called Kirsty who in the novella. I'm not sure whether she is a stepdaughter to Rory, because it's not really mentioned. If it is mentioned, I didn't pick it up. But I believe that she might be a friend of Rory's and Julia, and or a neighbour, and she investigates what's actually happening, and she finds out about Frank, and she takes the puzzle box away from him, and she ultimately calls the Cenobites and tells them that Frank has escaped them, who is hiding in the walls of that room. Every time that someone comes into that room that he's hiding in, he is hiding literally in the walls. And every time he wants to come out, I'm pretty sure a section slides away and he kind of steps out. It's kind of like a hidden room type of thing. And so yeah. So I'm just trying to think about what to say. So when Kirsty meets the Cenobites, she tells them that Frank is still alive, that he's escaped from them, and the popular line or the most well-known line or quote from the movie is that the character of Pinhead says to Kirsty, "Please, no tears. It's a waste of good suffering." And he also says to her that if she is lying to him or them, that they will tear her soul apart. That is also a main quote in the movie as well. So that was kind of like a nice little section for me to come across. So when the Cenobites go to the house, they confront Frank, or someone that doesn't appear to be Frank, because when Kirsty comes back to the house, not Frank. So when Kirsty comes back to the house, she finds that Rory is acting a little bit differently than what he usually does, and she's not really sure about why this actually is. And she's been told that Frank has been killed and all that stuff, and so she's got to convince the Cenobites that what's actually happened, because something's not quite right. I won't say what's actually happened, but the Cenobites do find out about what Frank has actually done, and he basically is I won't say if he's captured or not, but at the end there is a horrific scene where he's like being tied up with all these chains and ripped apart, and he looks at Kirsty, and he doesn't say the famous quote in the movie where he says Jesus wept. He just simply looks at her dead in the eye and licks his lips in a sexual way. Also, I just want to touch on the fact that Rory and Frank are brothers in the story. I don't know whether I mentioned it or not. Rory considers Frank to be a unlikable guy. He doesn't like his brother at all. He doesn't have any relationship between the two. He doesn't consider Frank to be a brother, even though he's extremely ashamed about Frank. And vice versa, Frank doesn't like Rory, his brother. He finds him to be weak, and I'm not sure why this relationship was kind of broken or why they disliked each other. It doesn't mention anything about that in the in the story, but it would be nice. It would have been nice if they maybe if Clive Barker kind of explored maybe their childhood, something maybe happened to them in their childhood that kind of separated these two characters and driven them to hate each other. One being incredibly evil and actually dislikable, and one of them being a normal American guy. This is an extremely good story. As I said, if you're trying to get into horror but you're not sure where to start, I would read the Hellbound Heart. It is extremely short, as I said, and it will give you kind of a flavour whether you will like horror or not. It won't take you that long. It took me about 2 days to read, depending on your reading, whether how quickly you read. You could read this in a day or in a few days or whatever, or whatever your reading like speed actually is. So yeah. So what I liked about it, can't say everything. I didn't really. I mean, I liked everything about this story. I liked the Cenobites. I thought that they were really cool, and about the horrific imagery. I mean, the horrific images that we were portrayed in this novel whenever we were in their presence. That was actually really cool. I didn't really have any dislikes about this. I mean, even though the character of Frank is portrayed to be an extremely dislikable character, but we don't really. I suppose the dislike for me is that it's a very very short story. I wish it could have been 200 pages instead of 100 to try to flesh out these characters and try to give them some sort of like character development and some character arcs, because most of these characters don't really have a character arc. They don't really change from beginning to end. They kind of stay the same, but that's okay. We don't really have many characters to actually focus on within this story, so that's a kind of a nice thing to actually have. That's really all I've got to say about the Hellbound Heart. I can't wait to read more of Clive Barker's work. I've got the Scarlet Gospel, as I said, Mr. Begone, and Cabal on my Kindle as well, and I'm planning to get a lot more of his work on my Kindle because I want to read as much of his work as I possibly can. So closing thoughts. Yeah, give it a read. You will either like it or you won't like it, but it won't take you a long time to actually get through it. And so the rating I would give it, purely because of the size of this story, because it's only 100 pages long and I wanted it to be longer, but what can you do? This was the second thing that Clive Barker ever wrote or written, and so I'll give it a 4 stars out of 5. If it was longer, I would give it a 5 stars, but on a reread I'll probably give it a 4.5 stars. But currently, right now, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. So that's really it, guys. So give this video a like if you've liked it. Comment down below, let me know if I've encouraged you to read this, or whether you have read it, and if you have, let me know in the comments down below about what you thought about it, whether you liked it, whether you didn't like it. And let's have a discussion about it, guys. Let's have a discussion about this world and about the Cenobites and about Clive Barker. And let me know what book or story I should read next after Hellbound. And also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. I just wanted to give like a quick give like a quick mention that I've currently got 89 subscribers right now. That's insane. I didn't think I would get that many, and I appreciate every single subscriber I get. So thank you so much for watching this video if you're watching this, and thank you so much if you've subscribed to my video or my channel, or if you're going to subscribe to my channel. And because I really appreciate it, guys. I really do appreciate it. It really means so much to me. So that's really it, guys. So stay safe, stay healthy, and keep reading, and I will see you in a day or so where I'm going to be doing my next video. So I'll see you later, guys. So see ya. Bye.